Hello and welcome to Scott Bryson Beyond the Surface. I hope you're doing well this evening or whatever time you're watching this podcast. We've been off and running, very busy this summer. We going in multiple directions, and I'm sure you guys are too, with vacations and different things like that. So if you're watching this sitting on your couch, welcome. If you're cutting the grass and listening to this, that's also cool. What we're going to do today, along with what we've been doing, is we're just going to tell a few short stories. These are short to kind of get us through the summer because we're all busy going so many directions. We're doing like around 10 minute talks, telling some old stories and some other things as well, some safety tips and things like that. But what I wanted to do today was talk to you guys. I just wanted to title this A Day in the Life or something like that. We're going to come up with a title for that, like A Day in the Life of a Secret Service Agent. Basically, it's extremely different than what a lot of people think. You watch the movies, you see all the sexy stuff, the gunfights, the protection on and off of helicopters and airplanes, and all the Hollywood stuff. And sometimes that stuff does happen to a degree. But spoiler alert: there's no pod on Air Force One. It's an old movie. I'm sort of dating myself. Harrison Ford did a movie called Air Force One when he played the president. And of course, if you know anything about Harrison Ford, he was pretty, even though he's probably, pretty left of center, he's a good actor like most of them are, but he's a really good actor. He always played like an action guy, hero type guy. So, but he was playing the president. So of course he was a tough guy president, and he was on Air Force One and there was an escape pod. Spoiler alert, that's not true. I'm not going to talk about the things that Air Force One does have, but I'm pretty sure I can talk about that since it's not true. And I don't think that's going to violate my NDA. So I don't think I'm going to go to prison for telling you something about a movie that's not accurate. But anyway, we're not going to get into the weeds on that stuff. But I do want to talk about what a day in the life of a Secret Service agent looks like, because it is very, very different for pretty much everybody. When you're a young agent, you start off in the field. It's called the field office. You go to a field office. It could be, we have other offices. We have smaller offices that are called different things. But basically, you start off in a field office and you do investigations. And that's called phase one. And during your phase one, you are assigned to a squad. You're primarily a criminal investigator. And for me, I was initially assigned to the counterfeit squad, which was awesome because it was real cop work, or it was very close to cop work as far as being a detective type of thing. There's also, at least back then, there was the credit card squad and the fraud squad and the protective intelligence squad, all the things that are, important, I guess you could say, but maybe just a little less exciting, but nevertheless, they're white collar crimes, and that's what the Secret Service investigates. Of course, now things are so much different because of technology, and everything's gone digital. And we have they have a tremendous program for missing and exploiting children, and it's just amazing some of the work that they do for child predators. It's really good. And I was a part of some of that as the ICAC. So I was able to be a part of some internet crimes against children. That's called ICAC. And when I was running the criminal squad in Hawaii, we did some sting operations over there on Maui. I know you guys feel sorry for me for that. Heavy lifting, but somebody had to do it. But in all seriousness, there are creeps everywhere, to include Paradise. And some of these people were there on vacation. Some people were just living there. But nevertheless, they were up to some really bad activities, which we put an end to. So there's all kinds of things that the Secret Service guys do. But anyway, kind of got off track there. Sorry. So when you're a young agent, it's called phase one. You do your thing. You're doing investigations. And you do temporary assignments called TDY, temporary duty assignment. You travel out. It could be for a night or two. It could be for a week. Sometimes you're standing post for the president. Sometimes you're standing post for the vice president. See, the thing is, when you go to phase two and you're doing full-time protection, you're assigned to that particular protectee. Like I was assigned to George W. Bush. Some of my friends were sent over to VP, and they were with Cheney. so you're either with Cheney all the time, or you're with Bush or whoever, Obama, Biden, all the things, Trump, whoever. So that's the only person that you deal with, or their immediate family. But as a young agent, or even as a phase 3 guy who maybe hasn't gotten promoted, you go back out to the field and you do temporary duty assignments. And these can really be bad. So a lot of standing posts. Excuse me, I call it giving feet. I have stood more posts than I care to remember. It's very monotonous and long days. Somebody asked me one time, was like, tell me what it's like to be a Secret Service agent. I'm like, okay, you really want to know? They're like, oh yeah. They thought I was going to tell them something fun, I guess. Here's what you do. You go put on a suit, put on some very uncomfortable shoes, make sure you have a tie. You don't get to wear open collar. Put on a necktie and go stand in your backyard for about 12 hours and watch the wood line, or go stand in front of your door going into your garage. I mean, that's what a lot of it is. It's monotonous. It is long days. It is boring. Boring is good, though. I will have to say the Secret Service likes boring because we don't want something bad happening. Like on July 13th last year, 2024, when Trump was shot in the ear, that was super scary. And yeah, that day wasn't really boring, but wasn't good. You don't want the leader of either party being taken out. That's not good. And so we always opt for boring. It makes for long days, but the years are fast. The days are long, but the years are fast. And that's the way I like to remember it. Met some really good people along the way, had some super good assignments, and had some bad assignments too. One of the, I'll just kind of break it down for you, just because I can't sum up 25 years in a couple of minutes. But, I can remember one time, I think the longest I was awake at one time was like 39 hours. I was a young agent stationed in Charlotte, had been picked up to go with First Lady Hillary Clinton. This was before she was anything other than a First Lady. She hadn't held political office yet. She was the First Lady. And so we were sent to, I felt like it was Arizona. I can't remember exactly, but I felt like it was Phoenix or something. She was kind of hopping around. And I was on a jump team. It's one of the things they call it. And we had to jump around from site to site and stand post for her. So, you fly from the East Coast all the way out to Phoenix or whatever it was. I can't remember. And then you get briefed. Then, you go to your shift. Usually it's the day before, but sometimes it's like that for whatever reason. I don't remember the nuance of it, but flew out, basically went straight to work and hopped around for a day or so. The Secret Service likes to rob Peter to pay Paul. And I think that's how I believe that's how they get some diminishing returns. That's not good, but I don't think that's ever going to change, because they like to do more with less. And I'm like, yeah, it's not always a good thing. But I mean, I understand manpower is an issue. So anyway, I can remember being with Hillary Clinton, so to speak, for like 39 hours awake. And just, I don't know that you're that effective when you're been awake that long. You're trying to protect someone's life. I mean, we got through it, but I don't know. Time and a place for everything. I mean, I understand those guys in Buds go through Hell Week and they are awake a lot longer than that, but you're also not keeping the First Lady of the United States alive. But anyway, it's not always sexy. Sometimes it's crappy assignments like that. Sometimes it's flying to, I don't know, Africa. Pick a country in Africa on a C-17 or a C-5. Those aren't great. It's like, cattle. You're just being herded on there like cattle, and you're flying with the cars. So that's interesting. And then sometimes you fly on Air Force One if you're lucky enough to go to the president's detail, which I did. One time we flew to Australia. And if you got to go to Australia, I highly recommend flying on Air Force One, which I was able to do. It's about a 22-hour flight, I think. I can't remember exactly, but that's about the best way you can do it, I guess, unless you were in a pod on first class somewhere and you could go to sleep. But anyway, that wasn't terrible. I was trying to think of the other Hillary Clinton story that I had, because I was in Amman, Jordan, and I got sick. I think probably got sick off peanuts that I ate in the lobby, which was a rookie mistake. But we flew in and got our briefing. And of course, you're in a different country. And so the advanced team's like, hey, these are the restaurants that have been vetted that are we've been eating at all week. You can go here. These are the ones that we have. I wouldn't go here. So of course, I went to a restaurant like everybody else with the advanced team to a place that had been vetted. I do vaguely remember eating some nuts that were in in like the lobby of the hotel. Of course, we're in a nice hotel, but like open bar nuts or whatever, some type of peanut. I don't know. And I think that's probably what did it to me. All I know is the next morning I was doing car security with this other guy. And I'm like, I got to go. And I never came back. I was super sick to the point where they actually put me in the hospital. They said my spleen was enlarged. I don't know if food poisoning makes your spleen enlarge, whatever. I just know old boy was sick pretty good. And they put me in the hospital. I was in the hospital for like 20 hours or 22 hours, long time, just shy of a day. And of course, this is in like 99 or 2000. So technology wasn't really what it is today, obviously. I didn't even tell my wife about it until I got back. But yeah, it was a little scary to be 27, 28, 29-year-old kid, whatever I was, laid up in some hospital when I couldn't see anything but the lady's eyes. They were all covered up. And I was in some hospital with an IV in my arm and throwing my guts up and not knowing what was wrong with me. That was a little spooky, but anyway, the point is you just never know what you're going to get into. And I'll tell you what was crazy about that story is once I got out of the hospital, I started feeling better and they let me out. Well, I couldn't work and I was so bummed because I was going to get to go see Petra, the city, and I didn't get to go because that's where she was going. I didn't get to go see that. And I was going to go to the Jordan River and I wanted to bring water home from the Jordan because I grew up Methodist. And at that time, my wife and I were going to a Methodist church. And so, we baptize the children, but it's more like a sprinkling, right? We dedicate the babies is what I like to call it now. But I wanted to dedicate them or baptize them with the water from the Jordan River. And I did not get to do that because I was sick and didn't get to go. I missed out on some really cool adventures. But I do remember feeling better, still weak, but better where I could move around. And I ventured out of the hotel and I went down to some, like it looked like an amphitheater type thing that went down in the ground. And I remember, of course, I didn't have a gun with me. We were hot swapping, but for work, but not off duty purposes. And I remember like 3 or 4 dudes, they were probably like young, early 20s or late teens, eyeballing me. And they were, they could see that I was an American, I guess, or English or whatever they thought I was. I was a white dude. And I was alone and I probably looked weak. I don't know. But they were going to mug me or whatever they were going to do. And I was able to get away from them in that situation. But I remember my spidey senses going off big time. And even at an early age, I mean, I certainly was not a seasoned vet. I don't think I was that good of an agent yet. But I had been a cop and my spidey senses were up. And so that's the first time that I can remember being pretty scared because there's 3 or 4 of them and there was one of me. And I just remember looking around and like everybody here is on vacation doing some type of tourist nonsense. And I'm the only one that sees what's happening. And I just felt so alone and isolated. Now, I probably wouldn't have been as scared if I hadn't have been in the hospital for a day or 2 before that. And I was super weak. And I didn't have any weapons on me or anything like that. So I didn't really know how that was going to shake out. But it ended up working out. I guess the good Lord was taking care of me like he always did and does. But those are a couple of just stories that I wanted to share because it's like they're kind of unique and off the wall. Not everything's rainbows and unicorns. A lot of what the Secret Service does is standing in stairwells on midnights or sitting in a hotel room next door while your protectee sleeps and you're rotating around and different things like that. But there are some There are some fun moments. I've shared some of those fun moments with you guys, but those are some of the moments that I remember that were less than exciting.